recording? Okay. Okay, so this is again creating a culture of spiritual growth. It's the 4th out of 8, and the topic this time is equal vision, Samadarshana, and so that term comes from this verse from the Gita, chapter 5, text 19. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gabihastani Shunichaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshana. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, an outcast, it says here, Prabhupada. And then the word here, Sama Darshana, right? Sama means the same or equal, right? Sama, and then Darshana means the vision. So that's where it's a pretty literal translation, equal vision of Sama Darshana. So we're seeing this deep spiritual equality among all various types of beings. And so that's going to be important to us, because I mean, in many contexts it's important, but for us, particularly as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, as members of the Hare Krishna movement, we're going to find it has a really core meaning to it. And I think it's 3 things I see that we'll kind of go over a little bit. It's very integral to the Hare Krishna's ability to change the world. We will hear what the kind of core meaning of Samadarshana is for us, and that relates to our ability to really have an impact on the world. It's an essential feature of our own personal spiritual growth. And then it offers the potential for our Krishna conscious movement to become a society of care, compassion, and concern for one another, to change the nature of our society, of our own society. That's what I'm proposing to you today. And then, so then here's the purport to that verse. Prabhupada says, as far as the bodies are concerned, in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as a friend. The bold part that I've done those things, I've added that. Yet maintains himself as Paramatma regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma is present both in the outcast and in the Brahmana, although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. So these things we know, but I'm really going to propose that if we can take this kind of more deeply into our hearts, it really creates a powerful change in all these different aspects. And then it's also spoken of, there's so many places it's spoken of, but here also in Isha Upanishad in the mantra 7, Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani, Atmavaya Bhud Vijanataha, Tatrako Mohaka Shoka Ekatvam Anupashyataha. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? And the purport in here says, in this mantra, the words ekatvam anupashyata indicate that one should see the unity of all living entities from the viewpoint of the revealed scriptures. The individual sparks of the supreme whole, the Lord, possess almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they are not quantitatively equal to the supreme Lord. These qualities are present in minute quantity, for the living entity is but a minute part and parcel of the supreme whole. Prabhupada sometimes uses the example of a drop of the ocean. You can analyze a drop of seawater and understand what the components are. So they're qualitatively the same as the ocean itself. But of course, you can't float a ocean liner on a drop of water. So the quantity is different. And then in Bhagavad Gita 15:7, it's Mamavangsho, Jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, mana shastanindriyani, prakristani karshati. Right? Um, and so the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. So this is what Krishna is saying. Um, and due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So again, there's this deep spiritual equality, a deep connection with Krishna, and uh, and then yeah, again in Bhagavad Gita 435, Yajnatva Napunar Moham Evam Yasyasi Pandava Yena Bhutanya Sheshani Drakshasyasyatman Yato Mai. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. Because Krishna is claiming ownership there. And uh, and so there's a few things that are apparent from those verses, right? Krishna is a friend to each soul, regardless of their material condition. He claims that. And he shows his friendship by being present as the super soul. Right? He's there with each, as he's the soul is there and the super soul is there with each one, no matter what their circumstances are. He sees all souls as belonging to him and as tiny parts of himself. So there's a real intimate connection. And they have in small measures, Prabhupada says, almost 80% of the qualities of Krishna. So they're really something truly valuable. Right? So then here in 632, we're going to come to especially what this is supposed to do for us. Kind of the prominent um, meaning we should take from this oneness. Atma pam yena sarvatra samang pashati yorjuna sukhamva yadi vadukam sayogi paramo mataha. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Okay? And then here I have something from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, his commentary on it. He gives a nice little general thing. And Prabhupada builds on this. Actually, it seems like he took some inspiration from it, but he really, in the purport, which I'll have from Prabhupada afterwards, it really connects us deeply with the Hare Krishna movement. So we'll start with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He says, this verse explains the most important type of equal vision. Okay? He sees what is good for himself and what is bad for himself as equally applicable to all others. He desires happiness for all others and does not desire suffering for anyone. And then Prabhupada, I think he even kind of focuses in more on how we should think of it. And Prabhupada says, in other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities. Prabhupada always used to sign this letter, your ever well-wisher. And in this way, he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. So I think maybe he probably meant that he does not only desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but he wants others to, he wants to help others. So this is the real thing. This notion of wanting to help others comes from the, at least from the bhakti platform. We see that other people have such value. They're valued by Krishna. We want to do something for them. And for us, it's really important. And we have a particular opportunity now to act on that. There's the condition of the world as it is, and the uniqueness of bhakti makes our ability to be of help unprecedented in this time and with what we have to give. So as I say, for the members of the Hare Krishna movement, this is the essential component of equal vision. It's especially true because of the current circumstances in the world and the unique gift of bhakti that we've been given. So I'm going to explain it this way. We have this in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 10. Prayenal Payusha Sabya Kalabasmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hupadrutaha. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So in this day and age, because it says souls are equal, right? And at a spiritual level, but because they're covered over by bodies, both subtle and physical, they have different qualities. So that they have they're equal in the spiritual way, but their material qualities make them unequally qualified for spiritual development. Right? Generally, different spiritual paths require a certain prerequisite or a certain level of qualification. If you're going to take up just regular karma, right? Krishna has just the path of karma where you do follow your dharma and do pious deeds and you get material rewards for that. Well, you have to be able to have self-control to do that. The promise of the reward has to be strong enough for you to resist temptations, to do something that's forbidden because it gives you immediate benefit. And it also um, you have to resist the temptation to not do what you're supposed to do because it's painful. So we have that both each of those cases in the Gita. Arjuna sees doing his duty as painful. He doesn't want to do it. And Dhritarashtra, he knows that his son Duryodhana shouldn't be king, but because he has so much affection for his son that he's willing to support him in doing something that's wrong. There's a desire that overpowers it. So you have to have some kind of self-control. If you want to do jnana, going to be renounced, you have to go through a process of karma yoga. Krishna says in the Gita. So you have to get qualified for that. And if you want to do this meditation, the 6th chapter, you have to have the prerequisite of jnana. And so so in this day and age, people are not qualified for hardly anything. Almost all the dharmas are above their reach because of the low quality of people. But because bhakti is something that comes from causeless mercy, anybody can receive Krishna's mercy and begin the path of bhakti. And if you have doubts of that, there's this purport that Prabhupada has from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 16, where he says, there are men called devas, or godly living beings, and there are men called asuras, or demons, who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, a vivid description of the asuras is given, in which it is said that the asuras are put into lower and lower states of ignorance, life after life, and so sink to the lower animal forms and have no information of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. What Krishna says literally is mam aprapya, they never attain me. And then he says, this is emphasis is mine, these asuras are gradually rectified to God consciousness by the mercy of the Lord's liberated servitors in different countries according to the supreme will. So they still have the capacity to receive the mercy of the Lord through their devotees and begin the path of bhakti. And the interesting thing is that's even more wonderful about bhakti is not only is it open to everybody, but the result is the best. No other path can take you to having an intimate relationship with Krishna. So there's no qualification except the Lord's mercy, but the result is the highest thing. So usually when you have something that has no qualification, the result isn't so great. Right? But here it's both. So we have a situation where people are largely unqualified for spiritual life, but we have something that anybody can do, and it's a wonderful thing to offer. So we have something really wonderful to offer in these particular times. And yeah, so here's proof of this, right? In Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-6, Yannamadeya Shravananukirtanadya Pravanadyat Smaranadapi Kvachit Shvadopi Sadya Savanaya Kalpate Kutta Punaste Bhagavan Darshanat. to say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face. Even a person born in a family of dog eaters immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. This is a powerful verse, huh? And then another one in the Gita itself, Mamhi Partha, Vyapashritya, Yepishu Papa Yonayaha, Striyo Vaishastata Shudras, Te Piyanti Parangatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, which are merchants, Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. And this word is Papa Yonaya, it means like sinful womb. The lower birth, a sinful womb, literally, is what it is. And when Prabhupada came here to the West, he said that he saw everybody was either, mostly were Shudras and a few Vaishyas. So everybody that he saw basically fell under this heading. But Krishna says, if they take shelter in me, it doesn't matter that they're not Brahmins or they're not some other kind of rishis or things like that. He says they can attain the supreme destination. Right? So again, he says it's unqualified can attain the highest qualification. And it comes through the purifying power of bhakti. Right? So if the devotees, if they have equal vision, they understand that all other beings are priceless. So, they're made of Krishna. They're like a little portion of Krishna, the same substance. And Krishna loves them. He's there with them. He's there in the heart of everybody, with accompanying the soul. And so they're greatly valued by Krishna. They're priceless and they're valued by Krishna. Right? So it says their vision is able to penetrate the superficial coverings, and therefore they're eager to try to help them. And this is in the ideal situation. So that's kind of the first part. The equal vision really, especially if we take the essential part of it, gives us, this is part of it, part of the power that will allow us to make a difference in the world. There's something that comes later will make that even more powerful. But that's one part of it. And then here it says, how we view and interact with others is an important measure of our spiritual growth. So we're going to look at these verses from the Bhagavatam that describe three different beginners in devotional service, people who are on kind of midway devotees, and those who are the Uttama, the highest devotees. And these things are, they're on there's like a spectrum. Or like you say, if if you wake up in the morning, say sometimes here, these days it's still chilly, right? And then it gradually warms up. So it's not that suddenly we're a beginner and then we blink our eyes and now we're the middle stage, and then we blink our eyes and we're at the highest stage. We gradually move from one to the other. So first we're a complete beginner, and then we start to, get a little better, and then we're a little mixed with some of the qualities of the middle people, and then we become, more middle, and then we, still are middle, then we start to have a little of the qualities of the best people, and finally, all the way there. So it's not like a discrete stage that you jump from one to the other, but you gradually grow from one to the other. But they're really defined. It's a metric. How we view and deal with others is how it's measured in many ways. And so we'll look at these verses that show how it's a really important metric. So this is 11th canto, chapter 2, text 47. They're all of them are from chapter 2. There's 3 verses continuous. It's out of order because they start with the highest one and go to the middle to the lowest. So we're reversing that. Archayam eva haraye pujam ya shvadaye hate na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smritaha. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple, but does not behave properly towards other devotees or people in general, is called a prakrita bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be the lowest position. And then there's and Prabhupada gives a lecture on the Nectar of Devotion. This is November 4th, 1972 in Vrindavan, India. And he says, a Kanishta Adhikari, this is what we're talking about there in the previous verse, does not know who is a devotee, Natad Bhakteshu Chan Yeshu. See, it's quoted from the previous verse here. Natad Bhakti. He's quoting from that verse. He says, he does not, he says, he does not know who is a devotee. Natad Bhakteshu Chan Yeshu. What is the duty to others? He says, he is very busy in temple worship for his personal interest. That is also good, he says. But one has to promote further to become a Madhyama Adhikari and then analyze who is God, who is devotee, who is innocent, and who is non-devotee, and behave in that way. And the whole purpose of this series of presentations was that we're stuck in between that first and second stage. So many devotees, we have that situation. We're trying to look at ways that we may move fully into the middle one. And so I've taken something here. This is from His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He has a book, a beautiful book called Surrender, the Key to Eternal Life. And in chapter 2, he talks about these three sorts of folks in a specific way. He says at least three possible scenarios could take place when we interact with those who are so-called junior to us, right? Because everybody, in one sense, is equal. So in the first scenario, we reveal our envy of them by refusing to assume our responsibility to assist them. We may feel self-satisfied in the knowledge that they are in a lower position. In fact, we may desire to keep them in that position, realizing that if we give our help, they might come up to or even exceed our own so-called superior position. There's a certain competitiveness there, and we'll try to explain that a little bit more. But instead of wanting to help, you just may be happy, hey, I'm a devotee and they're not, or I'm a better devotee than they are. And so that makes me feel good about myself. And I don't want to endanger my self-esteem by helping others. All right. And so what happens is at this stage, there's not really any equal vision. And so the important part when we deal with the equal vision is that it applies to all of us. So it's not only that others, right, are this beautiful spiritual spark of Krishna that is dear to Krishna, also we are. And so from when you don't have that notion of equal vision, then you don't have this intrinsic value. See, right now, just no matter who we are, what we're doing, Krishna is concerned with us. He's there with us because he cares for us and he sees our real value. We have it, it's there already. So if you don't have that notion of intrinsic value, then you have to develop that value somehow. You have to become valuable. And that's a mentality that's typical for us here in the material world. We're nothing and we have to become something. We have to prove ourselves to everybody. We have to gain certain qualities to be accepted by different people in different ways. We have to become something. We're just a little blob. We come in as a little baby with nothing, and we have to become something. So that gives this whole mentality that now I have to become dear to the Lord in some way if I want spiritual advancement. And so that's why they're concerned with their own benefit, because they don't even see themselves already as valuable. Right? They don't have time for others. Right? You're busy trying to become somebody yourself. That's a hard enough work, right? Because you don't have already value. Right? And success generally means, right, distinguishing themselves from others, right? Because Krishna is only going to accept the best of the best. Isn't that what happens here in this world? If you want to get, if you want to have some kind of high position, you have to be better than others. If you want to be a great athlete, right, you're competing with all the other people. If you want to be, be a rich, have the best business in the world, right, you have to compete with others. If you want to be, high level governmental person, you have to prove yourself. Get into the best university, you have to prove yourself. You have to show how you're better. You have to exceed. All right. And says, so they may hear that it's really a good thing to help others. And if they do that, they're still thinking that shows how great I am. They're doing it more for their own benefit than for the others. So they may do something, that's do some kind of outreach. But they're thinking more again that's what's making them better. You know? um, they think, right, that it's natural that success is earned and deserved. That's all it can be. Because if I start out as nothing, then I have to become something. Right? And so in this case, achievement is valued over mercy, because they're thinking that mercy is something that has to be earned. I do this, then Krishna will have mercy on me. I have to prove myself to this level, Krishna will have mercy on me. There's not the notion that Krishna already cares for us there. So there's an emptiness that has to be filled. Also, they may conflate having a position or getting some recognition in some way from others as a confirmation of spiritual progress. Because how do you know, right? How do you know that you're now, have attained value for yourself through your hard work and all your various attempts to do that? So then maybe because other people are saying, hey, you're really good, or you get some position. So sometimes it's like that. You're looking for these outward signs when really bhakti is so much an inward process. So the second level, the middle level, Madhyama, is described in the previous verse from the other one, because we're doing them in opposite order. Ishvare tada dineshu balasheshu dushatsutya prema maitri kripapeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha, middle, madhyama, middle. An intermediate or second-class devotee called Madhyama Adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada says, this is from a lecture of Srimad Bhagavatam 794, February 11th, 1976 in Mayapur. And he says, in the Madhyama Adhikari, he can see four things. What is that? Four things means, first of all, the Supreme Lord, Ishvara, the controller, he can see. He can see means he understands, he appreciates, he can conceive. Yes, the Supreme Lord is there. There is no more theoretical. I brought that in because I want to keep connecting this with our internal understanding. That this is something that shouldn't just be conceptual here if you want it to act on us. If we want to act here, it says he can see means he understands, he appreciates, he can conceive. There is no more theoretical. And so when we take something to heart, instead of just understand it in the head, it integrates into us and we begin to see that way. It changes the way we see things. And so we have to take this thing that every being, including ourselves, is this dear spiritual spark, as Prabhupada says, or this a little bit of Krishna, this treasure that Krishna cares about. And it's us, and everybody else is like that. And it's not that we're gonna try to strain our eyes and try to look there and see if I can see in the heart something. But if you take it in your heart, you'll automatically know. Yes, you say yes, the Supreme Lord is there, and this soul is there. You'll just know it. It's part of the way that you see somebody, and you'll know that. The more we integrate that, the more we'll be able to appreciate that all the time. So I think this is one of the things we have to do internal work on, and a really powerful thing. If we don't just keep it up here, but we take it into the heart, take it in that, because that part is where we actually, where our vision changes, where the way we see things change. So we want to integrate that, and if we do that, it's going to make changes in the way that we act. It'll be natural. We'll see people differently, just like he says, we can see. So it's a plea for that to really try to let that in, let these verses speak to you in a deeper level. And then Bhakti Tirtha Swami says in that same chapter, says in the second scenario, we are aware of our own advantageous position, and we are desirous of helping others by pulling them up. Just as a teacher feels fulfilled when the child is able to understand the lesson and apply it, so too a devotee becomes content when those junior to them make advancement Any good teacher is eager to pull a student up, and even happier when that student becomes a high achiever, perhaps even surpassing them. He says there is little or no envy in such a situation. Okay, so the middle ones are like that. And then, so because at this point they've integrated this equal vision to a pretty high degree. They and because but because of their status, they're wary of people who are really averse to God. They're not going to deal with them because that might hurt their own faith. They have to protect themselves a little bit. They may not be ready for that. So they see Krishna as just as the first person also sees Krishna. Although, see, the first person sees Krishna localized. Maybe he's in the spiritual world, or he's in the deity form. He's in the temple, and he's not anyplace else. And now, in the greater stage of Samradarshana, we see, oh, Krishna is, many places. He's many places, and so they're connecting with Krishna. They're appreciating now the other devotees. And and people who are innocent, who maybe who don't know about Krishna, they want to help them. And so for their own protection, they're not dealing. If you notice when I talked about how the asuras are saved by the devotees, it says that Prabhupada says liberated devotees who cannot have their faith damaged by dealing with those people. So the Madhyama has to be a little careful of their own self, to protect their devotional creeper, as we say. They may not be able to withstand really perverse people. So what's happening there is now they realize, right, that they have this intrinsic value, and everybody else does too. That they're just covered. That's the only problem. They are this beautiful, wonderful soul that Krishna adores and values right now, no matter what. That's already achieved. It's just covered over. Right? So therefore, they see Krishna's mercy as more existential than conditional. He already values them. The only thing that's wrong is that people are not wanting Krishna's mercy. They're closed off to Krishna. Krishna is there. He's in the heart. He's with us. Right? And he's there with us as our friend. So he's just there with us as a friend. And the only problem is we're not paying attention and we're not interested. And so therefore the relationship isn't activated. The problem is on our side. It's not Krishna's side. So the Kanishta is thinking, that Krishna is, he's not connected with us because why would he want to deal with us? We're nobody. And we have to become somebody, then Krishna may become interested. Right? So here we have the opposite thing. Krishna is already interested, but we're the ones who have turned away. And so when we realize that then that mercy is available on an ongoing basis, what we need to do is to find ways to open ourselves to it, find how we've blocked it, how we can connect with Krishna. The different processes of bhakti, the hearing and chanting and the various types of services meant to open the blockages so we can connect with Krishna and let his good wishes come in. And so when they realize that, right, then they instead of having this achieving mentality, this competitive mentality, this very insecure type of mentality, they become. It's amazing because Krishna is so extraordinary. Why would Krishna care about us? Even if we're a little spark of wonderful stuff, it's still amazing because Krishna is infinite. So it says then they become very grateful and humble at how Krishna is causelessly, right, causelessly having affection for us. How he's accepting us even when we're not interested. So our sadhana, the activities that we do in devotional service, the practices that we have, become more of a reaction to Krishna's eternal kindness rather than an attempt to attract his attention. So the Kanishtas are thinking, I have to do something to make Krishna recognize me and see me, but Krishna's already there and we're blocking him. So the Madhyama realized that, Krishna is so kind that he stayed with me all these many lifetimes. And I haven't cared for him. And so now I'm going to, my sadhana is reacting to his kindness. I need to do something back. I need to show some appreciation for what Krishna already is to me. Not that we're disconnected, and I have to make a bridge there because Krishna is someplace, and he's waiting for me to prove myself. And so we become more open to cooperation and mutual support, right? We see that the devotees can work together. Devotees can help me, I can help them. It's better together. When it's more competitive, right? You want to distinguish yourself from others, and so you don't want that. Now there's more cooperation, there's mutual support. We think in terms of all the devotees and all the other people, right? So we're more open to giving and receiving help, because that doesn't if we give help and people advance and grow, that doesn't make us doesn't make our position tenuous. That Krishna will take them and he'll reject me now, because it's not that he's accepting everybody, right? And they're understanding that whatever spiritual transformation they undergo is mostly the effect of us opening it to Krishna's mercy. We hear that the holy name is doing all the hard work of transformation. In the first verse of the Shikshastakam, there's this one story that Srila Bhaktisanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada's guru, tells, and I think it's really explains things correctly. He says it's like a person who's fallen into this deep well. He's calling out for help and calling out for help, and people come and they lower the rope. And so if he grabs onto the rope, they'll pull him out. And he complains. He says, "Please help me to put my hands around the rope." Right. So he's saying that if we're offered Krishna's mercy and we don't even don't respond in any way, that we're foolish like that. But all we really have to do is just put our hands around the rope and we'll be pulled out. It's not that we have to crawl out, right? Or we have to find a way to get really strong and learn how to rock climb all the way out. It's not anything like that. Just grab the rope. And that's what our sadhana is. This is grabbing the rope. We chanting Hare Krishna is not, or the other services are not that difficult things. They're just like grabbing the rope, and everything works from there. All the heavy lifting is done by Krishna. And so again, there's no big pride. Oh, look, I'm becoming better. It's a allowing Krishna to work, and just and by we open the doors to him so he can do it, so he can act. We chant Hare Krishna, we do various services, we study, we do all these various things, try to serve in different ways to open those blockages that we've had against him so that he can work. But the actual transformation is happening through the holy name and through Krishna's mercy. It's just what it is. We're powerless actually to remove all this stuff. It's the bhakti. One of the things that bhakti does is it reprograms us. It removes all the negativities and instills positive qualities. That's one of the intrinsic characteristics of bhakti. It's doing it. Krishna's doing it. And so this is the Madhyama. And then the says Sri Havi Ruvacha Sarva Bhuteshu Ya Pasyed Bhagavad Bhavamatmanaha Bhutani Bhagavat Yatmani Esha Bhagavatottamaha. Sri Havir said, the most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. So this is the highest stage. It's fully understood this. And here in Ishopanishad 6, mantra purport Prabhupada says, the Uttama Adhikari sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee does not discriminate between an atheist and a theist, but sees everyone as part and parcel of God. He knows that there is no essential difference between a vastly learned Brahmana and a dog in the street, because both of them are part and parcel of the Lord, although they are encaged in different bodies on account of the different qualities of their activities in their previous lives. Not considering the respective actions of the Brahmana and the dog, the Uttama Adhikari tries to do good to both, he says. And then in Bhakti Tirtha Swami's book, he says, in the third scenario, the Vaishnava is the servant of the servant. Instead of just pulling another up, the Vaishnava goes underneath to push someone else up, even at the risk of jeopardizing his own position. This Vaishnava's position far surpasses the first scenario in which someone in a higher position ignores someone in a lower position. For a genuine devotee, there is no question of ignoring others because he or she feels their miseries. This rare Vaishnava also goes beyond the second scenario of merely pulling another up. But genuine Vaishnavas care so much that they are prepared to sacrifice their own greater position and stability. They will risk everything to help another. We see this with Srila Prabhupada. He was happy there in India, living in Vrindavan. He had a place at the Radha Damodar temple, and he came here alone. And he was well respected. He had a place there. He could do his bhajan. He was do anything he wanted. He could do there. He was fine. And he came here, where nobody knew him. Nobody knew what bhakti was. He risked even his life. He had a heart attack on the way over. So he risked everything for. It wasn't for him. It was for everybody else. When he first came, nobody had any idea what was going on. So we see that. So they have this burning desire to help, without even worrying about themselves at all. So the Uttamadhikari has the equal vision in full. They have a deep realization of Krishna, which produces a deep humility. Right? We say, yeah, Krishna loves us, or Krishna is there, he's our friend, but we don't know Krishna very much. Okay? And so therefore we think, oh, that's nice. That's nice, Krishna, yeah, he's God, he's great, but the Uttamadhikari realizes who Krishna is. And then when you see who Krishna is and you see who you are, it's like, no, it's impossible that Krishna could have that much concern for me. It's incredible. And so it makes you're humbled in a huge way, and you desperately want to do something for Krishna in return, even though you can't even begin to repay it. So it's an intense desire for service comes out, and an intense desire to see. And so service for others is seen as a privilege because these people are dear to Krishna. This person is dear to Krishna. I'm ready to give everything to help that person. So they deeply perceive the value of all the souls. Okay. So most of us are trying to move from that first into the second. So the deepening of this understanding of equal vision is such a powerful aid in doing that. It's really kind of the crux of everything here. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is we have kind of a hierarchical society. So here we have in the Nectar of Instruction, verse 5, one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshiping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So we have this notion of a deep spiritual equality, but even there are people that are at different levels, like we've been talking about, the Kanishta, the Majjhima, and the Uttama. And we behave differently according to them. And sometimes when especially from a Kanishta level, when we see that when we're offering obeisances or serving somebody, then we're also thinking in terms, that they're better than us. And we may really worship them thinking, I want to be in their position so I can be better than others. All right. And if somebody has moved up the ladder without becoming, a Majjhima or an Uttama, they may also appreciate, when somebody's offering them obeisances or serving them because they're feeling better. And so the ideal is the hierarchy should be inhabited by devotees with greater and greater equal vision. This is how it's supposed to work. All right. And so those who have, at least to the Majjhima platform, they will gladly give genuine care and assistance to those, quote, below. And those below, when they're touched by such care and assistance, right, they feel gratitude, right? And they're inspired to act in a similar way to those who are, quote, below them. That's how it's supposed to be, like this real reciprocation. Because the whole thing is the increasing ability to help. Even the guru energy, right? It's the helping energy. That's what it is, right? And so the idea is that the more one becomes advanced in devotional service, the more that there's a desire to help others, that they see intrinsic value and they want to help. And those then who are helped, they feel tremendously grateful for that. And so, they want to do something in return. They want to assist them. They want to offer them respect and with gratitude, with great gratitude. Wow, I appreciate this help is, your help is so amazing. There's a tremendous gratitude there. So when we have too much Kanishta energy, the people above are demanding your worship and obedience for their own, either, their own service or for their own, you know, notion of themselves. They look at you as less. I'm up here, you're less, so therefore you have to serve my interest. Where the Madhyama and especially the Uttama, they see deeply the interest of others. Prabhupada was willing to sacrifice even his own life to try to help others. So so one of the problems I think we have, frankly, in our society, because so many people are caught in that between the Kanishta and the Madhyama, that we haven't been able to develop a society that functions like it's supposed to. There's too much Kanishta energy running through it. It was interesting that in Hari Shori's Transcendental Diary, he made this really interesting statement, because he was serving Prabhupada for a couple of years anyway, 2 or 3 years, I think, overall. And so he as his servant, he said he and the person, whoever the person who was his Prabhupada's secretary at the time, would sometimes spend alone time with Prabhupada when the day was over. And he said that, of course, everybody knew that Prabhupada was so much more advanced than, was more advanced. Prabhupada knew it. They knew it. They knew who the guru was and who the disciples were. But he said they somehow, he said it was something, he never felt that Prabhupada felt that he was better than them. He knew he was, he was the guru. He was the one who was advanced, and they weren't. It was his job to help them. He understood that, but he didn't feel he was better because he had that equal vision. It was a privilege for him to help them. And this is how it's supposed to go. So if we can more integrate this Samadarshana, and we can move ourselves from the in-between state to the Madhyama state and beyond, we can change the society. We can actually give care and help to people and compassion to people in a genuine way. And that can be reciprocated. And when that happens, you get this powerful society. When this is when the genuine dynamic that's supposed to exist begins to exist, I swear to you that if that happens, when people come in contact with us, they're going to be blown away. So this is the second part of how we can have an effect on the world. If we can have the proper relationships because of increasing the Samadarshana, where we really want to begin to help others, see their value, where we're not so worried about, proving everything to everybody, where we can feel ourselves that we're loved by Krishna. Therefore we can be more vulnerable. We can be more open. We don't have to defend our position, defend our level, this kind of stuff. We don't feel like we have to make ourselves worthy for Krishna, but we have to open ourselves to Krishna and reciprocate with his love. Then you get this kind of connection. That's just what everybody's wanting. Everybody wants a deep connection. So if they come, so it won't just be the teachings or the philosophy or the mantra or even the prasadam, but it'll be the connections. People will be blown away. There won't be we'll have such a huge effect because we'll be demonstrating what bhakti really is in a more powerful way, and people will just be blown away with it from it. So anyway, so what I'm saying is that I really think this is one key thing for us if we want to move from that midway, that stage between. We want to become full madhyamas. We really have to try to internalize this this notion of samadarshana, with Krishna Krishna in every heart, along with his beloved soul. You see somebody, right, and or yeah, here's Krishna and his dear friend. The two things are there, yeah. And also you are. Krishna's there with you, and it changes. I mean, it just changes everything. When you have everything else, all the different other kind of stuff, all the kind of normal things that we brought with us from our material life don't make sense anymore. Otherwise, the Kanishta attitude makes sense to us because that's how the world works. You have to prove yourself. You have to, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You have to work harder than the other person. So you're the one who's chosen. We're used to that kind of mentality. We didn't do the notion of intrinsic value. What do you mean? It's not there. So when we have this Sarmadarshan, it just changes everything. But we have to internalize it. We have to let it come into our hearts. So anyway, that's what I've got for you today. We've got 2 more sessions of new material, and then I'm going to try to tie things all together in the 8th session. So anyway, thank you, and yeah, any comments or questions or complaints or anything like that, this is the time. The floor is yours. The Zoom floor is yours. Yeah, Sachindra Krishna Prabhu.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhu, very nice lecture, as always. My question is, the divisions that we talked about, there's many different, correct me if I'm wrong, there's many different aspects that they come from. For example, the faith that Kanishta Adhikari has is different than a Madhyama and a Uttama. How does all of that factor in? Like, is it a clear black and white division? Like, for example, the faith or like the scriptural intelligence of someone who's a Madhyama Adhikari is different than a Uttama Adhikari. And so you may be at different levels and different of these categories that exist. So does that factor in?
Yeah, I really think this is the core one, though, because okay. a lot of people like the scripture level of scriptural knowledge as the metric, because that's easy to get. You can be a real jerk and you can know all the scriptures. You know what I mean? It's that one's like the cheat code, and so yeah, I think that becomes, I mean, of course, that's also necessary. If you're going to be of help, you have to at least know what's happening and be able to, to be able to give people help by having knowledge of the scriptures and what's that. So that's a requirement. But if you have that and don't have the equal vision, and then of course there's a level of faith in that equal vision, I guess, is also partially there, and so that also matters. You can have some understanding of the equal vision, but don't have much faith in it, and so the faith kind of comes in. But I really think that's the core one, is this equal vision where we want to help others, and we see Krishna. We have that intrinsic values that connects so much with what we talked about before, about what's real humility, real surrender, and real mercy. So to me, that's the one that matters the most. The other ones also are there, but I don't think the other ones, if the other ones exist alone, because I guess what do you have faith in, right? So I think faith has to also be connected to that, your faith in that thing. And scriptural knowledge is helpful, but if you take just scriptural knowledge alone, or faith that doesn't include that, then I think you're going to miss something, because they're defined in that way in how you're acting towards people. And so I don't think you can ever get rid of that one.
Okay, and
of course they all they all contribute to the to where you are on the scale, So
and is it a scale?
Yeah, it's just like a thermometer. It goes up degree by degree, or a spectrum. You don't just pop from one to the other. Okay, yes. Today I'm boop, and now I'm here. But you go through all the different stages in between generally. You know, I mean, it may take a little, yeah, somewhere, so it's a gradual move from one to the other. So you can be a pure Kanishta, then you're having Kanishta with a little bit of Madhyama stuff to mix in, but you're still mostly Kanishta. Then you're kind of half and half, and then, you know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, a little bit more Madhyama than Kanishta, and then finally, oh, you're all the way there at Madhyama, and then again you go. So there's a whole, a whole wide spectrum of different sorts of folks at different levels.
And so this knowledge is good to have, and it's really good to study and so forth. But then, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur once wrote that we have to analyze where we are in our progress, because then we move forward. But then sometimes when you look at some of these Kanishta, a Madhyama, Uttama Adhikari is always going to say, I'm not there. But then if we say, well, to actually analyze ourselves, you have to kind of say, yes, I have some of these feelings of, that you have discussed in each of the levels. So how does your false ego not get in the way of understanding where you are while understanding the knowledge and giving yourself a realistic position?
Yeah, well, I think, of course, a lot of it comes with our level of confidence that we're already accepted by Krishna. The ego is really important when you don't have intrinsic value. So you're really trying to say, okay, you really want to be better. Well, think you're better than you are because you're afraid that unless you are, you'll be rejected by Krishna. So the Uttama, yes, they're going to say that I'm a nothing type of a servant, but they'll be wrong, and that's a transcendental wrongness, and they don't have to worry about that. They don't have to examine anymore because they're already at the perfect stage. They're usually the Uttamas are at that level of Bhava or beyond, so they don't have to examine anymore. We're the ones who have to, and we have to try to have the confidence in Krishna to be able to look at ourselves with both eyes open, not just through the fingers, and say, this is where I'm at right now. But be able to be optimistic that actually by doing that, it helps you to advance, by being honest. Because bhakti at its essence, it's authentic. You can't pretend. I mean, you can pretend, but it's not bhakti. You can do whatever you want, but that's impossible. But it's not bhakti, right? So it has to be real. And
Thank you.
And even if we're not, don't have much devotion, Krishna already, he already accepts us. So it's not desired, but it's fine. We can work and move forward. Yes.
You explain. Thank you very much for your wonderful lecture. I have a question on this verse. It's Bhagavad Gita 9.32. And you said in the verse, it says, O son of Partha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Shudras can attain the supreme destination. Why did they include women there?
That's a little. What I would say though is, well, I don't know. you I don't want to go too much into that because in bhakti it's not relevant. Oftentimes that's like in the Varnashram system. Sometimes that's considered, right, that the women more serve their husbands and do this kind of stuff. But bhakti is a different animal altogether. And so generally it's like that in the Varnashram system. You have the Shudras, the Vaishyas, the Kshatriyas, and the Brahmins. So generally in those cases, the Stri Dharmas, you serve your husband and this kind of stuff, and you gain that person's spiritual credits. And so but for bhakti, it doesn't matter who you are. You can take up bhakti, and because everybody's a soul, it's operating on the soul level. So therefore, everybody is open to it, whether they're high level Brahmins or great rishis, or whether they're just people like us. People like us. So
Thank you.
And so everything is open to everybody that way. They're all souls.
Isn't the Mahabharata specifically conceived and written by Vedavyas for the uneducated class. And generally, I mean, things have changed in the modern day, but generally in the old culture, the women were at home raising the kids, and
Yeah, that was the
you know,
Varnashram culture. Yeah, Varnashram culture.
yeah. Well, this is, you know, traditional Vedic culture. So
Yeah.
then,
But
you know,
bhakti is
so
a
they're not
bhakti is a different thing.
Yeah.
Bhakti is
but
a
they're
different
not
thing.
expected to study the Vedas. Even the Brahmins were meant
Yeah.
to study.
Yeah, that's the
Vedas.
Varnashram system, and bhakti is the radical.
Right.
It doesn't. I mean, you know, the Varnashram system can have some compatibility, but bhakti is independent. This is very clear from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and that anybody can be transformed by it. And so, we have all this whole
yeah,
thing.
I think,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But
So,
generally, anyway, okay, let's leave that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, I really liked the class. I want to go over it again. We're only going to do 8 sessions. It's not 10.
No, it's 8. It's 8. It's 8. Yeah.
Okay. So then, okay, it seems to me that what you just described, you know, it's applicable for creating communities like David Madhav is trying to do in Michigan, and where the core group shares the same ideals, and then, you know, and so you can create a microcosm of this.
Yeah.
This seems to me, and Radhanath Swami, I would say that he did something like this. You know, if you saw the Simple Temple video, he created a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Where unrelated people cared for each other, genuinely cared for each other. They helped each other spiritually and materially.
Yeah.
So it's an extended family. So there's a family atmosphere. And that's the way Prabhupada started the movement.
Yeah, it was.
With, you know, Jamuna, her husband, Mukunda, his wife. You know, so that's how the movement started. And it had a sort of a family atmosphere. It was only when the movement migrated to India that things started to shift towards the renounced order, and things started to line up more with Indian culture.
And we also had, you know, the other thing that happened is that you had you suddenly had, you know, Prabhupada was more diluted, you know, so like, you know, in New York and San Francisco, he was there most of the time, you know, and then when they started to have the movement started to grow so quickly, then, I mean, he was still trying to write letters, he was traveling, but
yeah, he wasn't hands-on, right?
Yeah, most of the people were being trained by and overseen by other new devotees.
Right.
You know, so it was really, so, you know, basically we had Kanishtas raising Kanishtas, you know, and so that caused, you know, that difficulty. Probably was another part of the cause, the difficulty there. You know, we just didn't absorb the true meaning of what we were doing. People were working hard, people were trying, people were really dedicated. You know, they created the movement.
Right.
You know, beautiful, but there were some things that weren't able to be understood because they just weren't experienced enough. You know?
Yeah,
No fault of their own.
Swami had
He was trying to do that.
Some advantage with engineering students and medical students, so that he had an economic base for what he was doing. But at the same time,
he also had an advantage. Malati was saying this one time, and I thought it was interesting because if you read, you know, the journey home, he had some intimate association with some pretty advanced Vaishnavas. There was that one Baba, was it Gopal, I think, that he had quite a bit of association with. Yeah, I think so. I think it was Gopal, I think, but he was just a little Baba. He was living in a little corner of somebody's house, had a closet with deities in. And and Radhanath Swami used to go, and before he was Swami, but he used to go there and visit him before he was even in ISKCON. And he would sometimes stay overnight. And he always thought that, he said that, you know, that the person say, oh, I can't remember what the name of his deities were, but he said, you're the friend of these people, these deities. And so he would feed him, you know, and people would tell Radhanath later on, he said, you know, that, you know, when you can't come every day, because every time he feeds you, he only does Madhukari once in a day. He doesn't eat when he feeds you. And when he wouldn't come, the guy he was, no, why aren't you coming? You're the friend of such and such. He would cry. Or if he slept there, sometimes it would be cold, and the guy would give him his blanket. And Radha said, no, you can't. And the guy would say, no need. He doesn't need the blanket. And then he was trying to help him bring water for his deities because he was old. And no, you would take his service. He was devastated. So he finally allowed him to, they would carry it together. He would allow him to help him, but to actually carry the no. You know, so he got some like really deep impressions on him, you know, even before he came into ISKCON, you know, so these things made a real impact on him. And so I think he really had something, you know, something more than most people had to work with. And so he understood that the culture more. And then he stayed there. So that's when he really stayed there at Chaupati and really tried to, you know, like Prabhupada at one time had said he wanted to stop things and boil the milk. You know, he wanted to do that, but then so many people were coming. What could he do? He had to figure it was Krishna's arrangement, and so he took everybody. You know, so he was kind of able to do that a little more. Radhanath Swami.
Right, and Niranjan Swami, he appreciated that, and he had a desire to try to do something similar with, you know, Russia and Ukraine.
That's right. Yeah.
And but it seems like you know, the class is, you know, you know, to reform an institution, and there have been attempts over the years, but there has to be some desire among the leadership for things to, you know, to shift.
Yeah. So I think we somehow or other we have to create, even if it's creating smaller communities where we start to do that, where we start to get people get into the Madhyama stage. Like I mean, that was actually who was it? Satsvarup Maharaj, during the time when there was the Guru reform movement. You know, he said that he didn't think there was a way to fix spiritual problems through political means. You know, and so there was, you know, something to be said for that statement, you know, because I mean, the reforms helped in some ways, but they didn't solve the root problem, you know.
Yeah, because you making rules doesn't solve it. You know, because people that are averse, they're just going to find a way to skirt the rules. Yeah, you can't legislate change. It has to be the heart. It has to be. So you get to you associate with like-minded devotees, and you form a group, a core group, and then expand on it.
Yeah, and if you can get to that point where people regularly are, you know, much more easily making that transition from the Kanishta to Madhyama, then you have a whole different environment. Right. And you have people who are modeling the behavior. You know, I'm talking the behavior, but you can people who can really model it. You know, then it's something that then it makes deep impressions in you, because it's not supposed to take this long to do this. You know, it's not supposed to take this long, but I don't think we had enough sufficient modeling that allowed us to do that. So now we have to take kind of extraordinary measures to compensate for that. But if we can do that, then I think, then it goes downhill from there. Yes.
I'm very new to ISKCON temple, and then it's where I'm learning. Everything I'm learning is very new. I'm eager to learn Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, and you're so good to explain the things. Do you have any thoughts of giving a series of lectures of either Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita in the future?
I have some that are recorded online on the
Okay.
website, on our website, the iskanadc.org
Okay.
website. It's called the Bhakti Shastri. And you could look at that.
Okay. Okay. I will.
And there's other people that do it, and you could find other options.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We're kind of in over time here. If there's something else that's you're burning to say, please do it. Otherwise, I'll let you go. I don't want to keep you too long. Hold you captive here.
No, Prabhu, this is not captive. This could last for longer. It'd be great.
Okay.
What is one last thing? What is one way one can advance? We talked about the different levels, and there's many ways of advancement, but in your experience, how can one have a smoother transition and progress? It can happen instantly, it can happen long term, but what have you gleaned from your devotional practice?
I'm still working. That's what I'm trying to work through it here. That's the last thing we did, the Shikshastam, that was to that end, and that's what this whole series of classes is about. And I'm still trying to find my way. I wish I were, I just have to be straight with you. I'm stuck in that same spot, and I'm trying to find ways that we can do that. And I think what we're doing here is can be helpful. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Hope it turns out to be helpful for us, for me and you.
It's very helpful. It's very helpful. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
But I think I like that one thing you said, and you said, when you know deep in your heart that Krishna loves you, and you can appreciate that, and you become indebted to that, that's a key point, because you no longer will need that recognition from outside when you know that your relationship with Krishna is one-on-one personal. So you don't need that aggrandization from outside or recognition or titles.
Yeah.
You love Krishna and he loves you. That's a key thing you brought out. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm getting that, from descriptions of, advanced devotees, that's how it looks like. So I'm getting that. I mean, like for me, the problem I have is, I've been in, living in temples for 30 years now. And so a lot of the culture, I realize, it's hard for me to even if I'm kind of starting to intellectually understand things that were not useful for me, harmful parts of the culture, I have to detox from that. Somehow that's taken into my body. And so even if I can, see my way forward to look at it differently, I have to somehow, it takes time to disengage from those previous misconceptions, And so I'm hoping that if we can do that, the other people that come in fresh, they won't have 30 years of detox to go through. If I help them, say, come on, guys, help me now. Help me get rid of this 30 years of dust, So I'm hoping, hope this helps somebody, and then come back for me. Don't forget me, man. All right. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank you, bro. That was
Hare
great.
Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.